Get out of the way. You're blocking the pregnant lady, Caroline said, gently stroking her belly. Her face held a mean-spirited expression that made you wonder, shouldn't pregnant women have a more gentle demeanor? I looked over at my husband, Oliver. Go sleep in the storage room, he chimed in, echoing Caroline. Watching Oliver side with Caroline, my love for him cooled off. Yet, a part of me still felt a pang of sadness. All right then, I replied. Oliver happily took Caroline's hand in response. Caroline gazed back at him, utterly smitten. The sight of them together washed away my melancholy, replacing it with a rising anger from within. I'll be out by tomorrow. Sure. Oh, why don't you find somewhere else to stay tonight? This is mine and Caroline's house now, Oliver said, elated. I nodded slightly and left the house. They won't be laughing for long. Leaving the house, I allowed myself a smile, imagining what comes next. My name is Sophia, a 46-year-old housewife. Before marriage, I worked hard, but that was over 20 years ago. Now, I enjoy my days doing household chores and savoring coffee, just an ordinary middle-aged lady. My hobby is investing, which I've done since before I got married, recently enjoying significant dividends that allow for luxury hotel lunches and spa visits. Oliver, 43, is a salesman for a major company. He's definitely put on some weight, and honestly, his scent has become rather strong recently. But as a salesman at the top of his game, he sure has a way with words. Despite looking like a big, burly guy, I've always loved him. I've thought about encouraging him to lose some weight for his health, but there's a certain adorable quality to him that made me think maybe it wasn't necessary. We have a daughter together, Hazel. Hazel has inherited Oliver's facial features, and being slim, she has the beauty of a model. Not just in looks, but academically and athletically. She excels, bringing home top grades and being selected for national competitions, all while being humble and hardworking. Both Oliver and I dote on her, often to the point where others say we're overprotective. Oliver has a bit of a weakness for younger women, but he chose me, an older woman, and has always prioritized our family, so I've come to accept his occasional wandering eye. We lived in a second-hand apartment bought around the time Hazel was born, which has been aging, leading to discussions about increasing the maintenance fees. Amidst this, Hazel decided to do room sharing near her university. At the same time, my relatives offered us an uninhabited house to inherit, prompting Oliver and me to decide on rebuilding it and moving in. Little did I know that this move would lead to such a turn of events with Oliver. While our old apartment had 4 rooms, our new home has only 2. It's smaller than before, but designing it as a single-story home, considering our elder years, has made it very comfortable. One of the 2 rooms, a combined study and guest room, can be divided into Hazel's room and a study, making 3 rooms if she comes back. Since moving, Oliver's nights have become late due to work engagements, and he often finds excuses to go out on weekends. Being sensitive to smells, sleeping next to Oliver, who reeks of alcohol and tobacco, has been a challenge, even with separate beds. Thus, despite having a shared bedroom, I've been sleeping in the study since we moved into the new house. When it came time to send out moving announcements, I took the initiative, sending letters far and wide. Oliver isn't great with these sorts of things, so I handled sending letters to the in-laws' house and his relatives on his behalf. Since both my parents have passed away, I only sent brief notices to relatives and friends on my mom's side. I haven't kept in touch with anyone from my dad's side of the family, and that's largely due to my sister, Caroline. Caroline is my half-sister, 14 years younger than me. She was born to my dad's second wife shortly after my mom died when I was in my first year of middle school. Caroline was already 2 years old when they remarried, so I initially thought it was a marriage where both parties already had children. My dad passed away in an accident along with his second wife about 5 years after they got remarried. At the funeral, relatives on my dad's side mentioned that he and his second wife had been childhood sweethearts, and everyone had expected them to marry. They blamed my mom for coming between them, saying she proposed marriage through her company connections, leaving no choice for my dad but to marry her, casting his second wife into the shadows. Despite my memories of my parents being happy, it turns out my dad had a child with his second wife behind the scenes. That revelation shocked me more than anything. At the relative's house, Caroline's favorite foods were always served. She wore brand clothes, had the biggest room to herself, and was taken to any place she wanted immediately. In contrast, I was burdened with preparing meals, doing laundry, cleaning, had my part-time earnings taken away, and my room was a small storage space under the stairs, where I was begrudgingly provided with the bare minimum after asking. By the time Caroline reached the middle grades of elementary school, she had learned about my mom from relatives and had come to look down on me. I had to juggle multiple part-time jobs to finally move out of that house. With such experiences, it's no wonder I harbored no fond feelings for Caroline, and I hadn't told her about my marriage or having a child. A few weeks after moving in, I was enjoying a coffee when the doorbell rang. A man's voice said, "Delivery." The screen showed someone looking down. Wondering if Oliver had ordered something, I opened the door, and I was surprised by the person who was there. "Caroline, what are you doing here?" "It's been a while, sis. I just showed up." The person in front of me was indeed wearing the hat seen on the doorbell camera, but it wasn't a delivery person. It was my sister, Caroline. Caroline slipped past me, frozen in shock, and made herself comfortable on the sofa in the living room. I hurried after her and stood towering in front of her, looking down. "If you knew it was me, you wouldn't let me in, right? That's why I used a recorded voice from before." "That's awful, deceiving me like that." "Oh, scary." Caroline feigned fear at my raised voice, but it was clear she was acting, evidenced by her smiling face. "I've come back home." "What?" Confused by Caroline's nonsensical remark, I responded coldly. With a bright smile, Caroline began to explain her sudden visit. "Well, you never tell me where you are. I got married, but my husband's always on business trips, and it's boring. And when you get pregnant, it becomes harder to move around, right? Everyone said I should come and have you take care of me. Go back. I have no intention of dealing with you, let alone take care of you. But I've already come here planning to have you look after me, so it's impossible." I was frustrated with Caroline's unapologetic attitude. Hearing her mutter, "Thief's daughter," under her breath, my anger reached its peak. "Get out. I never want to see your face again." "What's all the noise about?" It can be heard from outside. "Oliver, Surprised by Oliver's unexpected return, I was at a loss for words when Caroline stood up and went over to him. Then she wrapped her arm around Oliver's. Oliver didn't shrug her off and seemed pleased with her presence. "Oh, Caroline's here. Welcome." "Oliver, sis is being mean." I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to stay with Oliver until the baby is born? But is that not okay? That's great. If you don't mind, you're welcome to stay as long as you like. I was stunned by the conversation between Oliver and Caroline. Not only that, but Caroline was clinging to Oliver, their proximity resembling that of lovers. Oliver, what's this all about? You see, Caroline's had it tough, hasn't she? Why be so harsh? Jealous of your cute sister? I felt despair at Oliver's words. I had told Oliver about my family situation before we got married. Yet, he said such things. Look, you're not using your bed in the bedroom anyway, so it should be fine, right? Really? I can sleep in the same room with you, Oliver? Sleeping next to you sounds like it'd bring sweet dreams. Oliver, really? Their conversation, like that of a close couple, gave me a headache. Ignoring me, the two of them went to the bedroom, still arm in arm, to put away their luggage. However, when they didn't return after a few minutes, a bad feeling led me to peek into the bedroom. There, I found them embracing each other. Living with you feels like a dream come true. The baby's happy, too, to live with Dad. Caroline's words filled me with despair. Oliver is Dad. What does that mean? Oliver, looking pleased, nodded while embracing Caroline. We should leave the sister to babysit and go on a date. She's only good for that. I watched them kiss through the tears, peeking through the door gap. From that day on, they treated me like a housekeeper. While obeying them, I began to gather evidence, little by little. I discovered more shocking truths about our household, leading me to consider divorce. One day, Caroline, sitting on my favorite sofa, summoned me. She spoke as if she owned the place. Get out of the way. I'm pregnant, Caroline said, gently rubbing her belly. Shouldn't pregnant women look more compassionate? Caroline's face was filled with malice. I looked at Oliver. You should sleep in the warehouse, he said, agreeing with Caroline. Seeing Oliver side with her, my love faded. Still, I felt a bit sentimental. All right then. Oliver happily took Caroline's hand in response. Caroline looked at Oliver adoringly. At that moment, my sentimental feelings vanished, replaced by anger from the bottom of my heart. I'll be out by tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, why don't you find somewhere else to stay tonight? This place is now mine and Caroline's. I nodded slightly and left the house, thinking they won't be laughing for long. After leaving, I smiled, imagining what comes next. I stayed in a hotel, planning my next steps. I arranged for movers to come the next day and planned to go to the office early before heading home. Excited about the future, I had trouble falling asleep that night, but feeling liberated, my heart felt lighter. The next day, I went as planned to get the divorce papers and headed home. The movers were already there, looking confused. They said the house was empty when they arrived, with just one cardboard box left at the entrance. At the entrance was indeed a small cardboard box with a note saying, "Please take whatever you want." Inside were my treasured books and cosmetics tossed carelessly, with books damaged and pages torn. At the very back was Oliver's wedding ring, fueling my rage. Entering the house, I found the bedroom in disarray, with sheets, pajamas, and underwear scattered about, making it clear what had happened after I left. Please take all of these items, I said, closing the bedroom door and leading the movers to the study. Oliver doesn't read, so the study was filled with books collected by me and Hazel. Since I only had a few outfits to begin with, I decided to take this opportunity to buy new ones. When I entered the living room, I found a letter on the dining table. The letter mentioned that Oliver and his companion were going on a prenatal trip abroad for 5 nights and 6 days. It instructed me to keep the house clean during their absence and to prepare for the divorce immediately upon their return. I was dumbfounded by their selfishness. However, this made my plan much easier to execute, so I secretly thanked them in my heart. After having the movers take all my belongings, I removed my wedding ring and left it in the kitchen. Leaving the ring behind, I exited my home. I debated over where to move, but ended up buying a place near Hazel's University that happened to be for sale. The new house was very comfortable, and I enjoyed my solitude for the first time in a while. On the day of their return, my mobile phone kept ringing incessantly. I knew who it was without even looking at the screen. Without diverting my eyes from the book I was reading, I answered the call. Yes, yes. What the hell is this about? Oliver blurted out without any greeting, his voice frantic. The reason was clear, but I responded casually. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. The house is gone. I couldn't help but laugh out loud at Oliver's statement, hearing him panic on the other end. After my laughter subsided, I replied to Oliver, Why? Well, it's my house, so if I'm not living there, I don't need it, right? We were living there. What about our stuff? Don't worry. I've kept everything as is in a storage unit. I'll send you the location and the PIN in a message. Don't mess around. Bring everything back now. Give us our house back. That's funny. The land and the house are in my name. I used the money I made from investments to build it. Not a dime from you. It seemed Oliver finally remembered the circumstances under which the house was built. When we were deciding whether to remodel or rebuild, Oliver said he had no money and told me to do whatever I wanted with my own money. So, I took care of everything from the paperwork to the payments, building the house to my liking. But Oliver, seduced by Caroline, had completely forgotten about that. Please, it's for your niece or nephew that's about to be born. Find us a house. It's unfair to Caroline. My niece or nephew? I'd love to meet someone who can adore the child of the husband who cheated on them. What are you saying? Did you think I wouldn't notice? Oliver had believed he hadn't been caught, but his confident demeanor quickly changed. I pressed on. I've been aware of your affair with Caroline since the day she barged into our house, and I've been collecting evidence since then. Evidence? The baby camera Caroline had me buy. It's been recording. You didn't notice, did you? Oliver let out a small sound. The baby camera was the first thing Caroline demanded when she settled in. She had already done her homework and requested a high-end camera that cost $1K. Of course, I initially refused, but after being yelled at by Oliver, I reluctantly bought it. However, the camera setup was left entirely to others, and neither Oliver nor Caroline had touched the camera since its purchase. So, I secretly activated it, capturing everything in the bedroom. True to its price, it even captures clear images in the dark, including both of you in bed and what you were doing under the covers. Snooping around like that is in poor taste. I was merely testing the capabilities of the baby camera. Still better than a man who cheats with his wife's sister, I'd say. Oliver seemed unable to respond. To Oliver, I cheerfully said, Oh, and I think I left the mailbox untouched, so you might want to check that. The mailbox? Yes, it should have arrived by now. I could hear Oliver checking the mailbox over the phone. Then, the next moment, I heard his surprised voice. Oh, good. It looks like it arrived. the certified mail. Make sure you take care of the payment, okay? Hey, there's one for Caroline, too. Are you going to leech off your sister? What are you talking about? You two betrayed me, so this is a compensation claim. Family or not, it doesn't matter. But no excuses. We'll go through lawyers from here on out. Bye. Wait, Sophia. I hung up, ignoring Oliver's call. My phone kept ringing off the hook, but I ignored it. I had already signed up for a new mobile phone over these 5 days, so the old one was just for keeping evidence. Ignoring it caused no problems. Oliver kept calling for about an hour, but eventually gave up. He seems to have complained to the lawyer, who later reported to me with a tired voice. The next morning, I got a call on my mobile phone from Dad's side of the family. Since I hadn't given them my contact information, it was probably Caroline who had whined to them, planning to scold me. Reluctantly, I answered the call while recording it on my new phone. Yes. How could you throw out a pregnant Caroline like that? Apologize to her immediately and provide a new house as compensation. Why should I apologize to a woman who slept with my husband? Whatever Caroline has told you, she should be the one to apologize. And she should be the one to pay compensation. This is why the daughter of a thief. Right. Just like the child of a dad who betrayed mom and had a child with his affair partner. You end up with someone weak-minded enough to sleep with her half-sister's husband, growing up just as poorly. Oh, and please tell Caroline to stay away from me from now on. Though, I doubt she'll have the luxury to do so. The relative was still complaining, but I hung up. Feeling surprisingly refreshed after venting everything I had been holding back. I contacted the lawyer to summon Caroline and Oliver. I wouldn't close this chapter of revenge until I saw their frustrated faces. The meeting at the law office then took place. Before me were Caroline, looking sulky, and Oliver, appearing disgruntled. It seemed they hadn't learned their lesson, even after all that had been said. I never thought my sister would turn out to be such a miser. I'm shocked. If I knew she was so greedy, I wouldn't have married her. I was deceived. Hearing Caroline and Oliver's self-centered comments, I moved beyond anger to sheer disbelief. I laid the divorce papers in front of them and also presented another document, a marriage registration form. As for the compensation, I might consider reducing it if you sign this. If signing this is all it takes to reduce the amount, then give it here, Oliver said, snatching the pen from me to sign. Caroline also signed, laughing. I put the documents in a file and then smiled brightly. I'll make sure to submit this to the office. Did you forget, sis? I'm already married. It won't be accepted anyway. Well, don't worry. You're single now. Huh? Caroline looked at me with a dumbfounded expression. I rephrased it for her, making it easier to understand. Yesterday, the divorce mediation finalized our divorce. I didn't know about that. Well, you threw away the mail without checking it. There were several letters, orders to appear in court. I got a message from your husband saying the divorce was finalized, and now he's filing to deny paternity of the child. That can't be. While Caroline stood there dumbfounded, Oliver seemed oddly pleased. No wonder, since he could marry Caroline until after her remarriage prohibition period ends. To Oliver, who seemed quite content, I smiled sweetly. It must be tough for you, having to support a child that isn't yours. What? The child in her belly is mine. Oh, you didn't know. Poor thing. The child Caroline is carrying is actually from her real boyfriend at the club. Club guy? When Oliver turned to Caroline with force, she awkwardly looked away, indicating my statement was true. Seeing this, Oliver's face turned pale, realizing the truth. Good luck with the compensation payment and raising someone else's child. I know it'll be tough. Sophia, let's start over. I was wrong. After all, there's Hazel. As Oliver changed his tune, the door to the lawyer's office burst open, and a woman walked in. Oliver turned pale the moment he saw her. Hazel? Dad, you're the worst. Hurting Mom like that. I'm cutting ties with you. From now on, I'll live with Mom. You and that loose woman can just disappear. Hazel had never spoken so harshly before, leaving Oliver frozen in shock. Meanwhile, Caroline, insulted, was red-faced and trembling. Who are you calling loose? Sleeping with someone other than your husband, than my husband, and also your real boyfriend from the club. Which part of that isn't loose? Are you insane? Hazel's fierceness left Caroline speechless. I delivered the final blow to Caroline. Just so you know, he's frugal but never manages to save money because he spends it all on young women. So be careful. What? But what about the house, the car? Oh, those, all mine. Bought with my dividend income. We use them as a married couple, but after the divorce, we're strangers. A man with a $3K salary couldn't afford that car anyway. $3K. Even though he works for a big company, apparently motivated by money, Caroline was frozen in shock. Oliver, too, was looking down, embarrassed by the revelation of his low salary. Well, good luck with everything. I said that and left with Hazel, entrusting the rest to the lawyer. The dinner I had with Hazel that night was genuinely enjoyable and delicious, the best we had in a long time. Later, I filed the divorce papers. When Caroline's remarriage prohibition period ended, I also submitted Oliver and Caroline's marriage registration. The witness section was signed by me and Caroline's ex-husband. Oliver was fired for repeatedly cheating with Caroline during work hours and misappropriating travel expenses for their affairs. Now he's struggling, working part-time jobs to make ends meet. Caroline seems to be taking care of the child, but cries daily, having been dumped by her club boyfriend once the money ran out, unable to tolerate her unbearable personality. Caroline admitted she targeted Oliver because she couldn't stand that I got married and had a child before she did, wanting to ruin it. She thought she could get money from both her ex-husband and Oliver by claiming the child was Oliver's and leave the care to me while she visited her club boyfriend. After all this, even her relatives have abandoned her, forcing her to reluctantly take up part-time work, which didn't last long due to her attitude. Now, she, Oliver, and the baby live cramped together, barely scraping by. Hazel is enjoying her university life. I was surprised to learn her roommate was her same-sex partner, but seeing Hazel happy made me think it was all right. As for me, I continue to live off my dividend income. After the divorce, I've been in touch more with Caroline's ex-husband, who's been asking me out to dinner. It seems that Caroline and her ex-husband were married through their parents' introduction, pushed heavily by Caroline herself, I later learned. Yet, I wonder why she was dissatisfied with him, to the point of curiosity. I received a message from him earlier on my mobile phone, saying he has something important to discuss, making me feel somewhat restless today. Despite telling myself not to expect too much, my face blushed like that of a girl in love as I sat in front of the dresser, applying makeup.
I'm pregnant with Rachel's child. I want a divorce. Okay, here are the divorce papers. I'm done with the caregiving. My husband, Cody, drops this bombshell on me while I'm single-handedly taking care of his mother, Sarah. But even hearing his words, I didn't flinch. Instead, I calmly do as he says and hand him the divorce papers I had prepared. What? You need to keep taking care of her. No way. Because Rachel is. Cody is baffled by my overly composed reaction. To him, I reveal the secret about my sister, Rachel. My name is Megan. I've been married to Cody for 5 years. And now, I'm considering divorce. What led me to this point was when Cody started taking his phone into the shower with him. He was always indifferent to messages, but lately, he's been glued to his phone. During meals, he puts his phone on the table. When he gets up, he tries to hide it, as if he doesn't want anyone to see. He never cared about mobile games before, so his sudden change in behavior made me suspicious. That's how it started. When we first got married, there were no signs of him cheating at all. While we were dating, he was the epitome of seriousness. I married him thinking he wouldn't cheat. I never imagined back then that I would come to suspect him like this. Another reason I married him was that there were hardly any women at his workplace. He's not bad-looking, so if there were female coworkers, I probably would have suspected an affair. But the only women at his job are some older ladies in the office. There's a significant age gap between us and them. I can't imagine Cody making a move on someone like that. If anyone, it would be my sister, Rachel. When I was in elementary school, Mom remarried and we started living with Rachel and her family. She's Dad's daughter, and we don't get along. Rachel has always been selfish, looking down on me for everything. There were times when I rebelled against her and the house was filled with animosity. But she has a way with words, a genius at making men go crazy for her. Dad never questioned anything she said, and Mom doted on Dad, so I had no allies in the house. Rachel will do anything to make herself look good. Even if she insults me or treats me horribly, as long as it benefits her, that's all that matters. She doesn't care what happens to anyone else. She is that kind of person. I try to empathize with others' pain, so her arrogant attitude disgusted me. Rachel must be lonely without any sisters, so she's taking it out on you. Forgive her. She'll realize how kind you are someday. Mom would always say when I complained about her, convincing me to be patient. Mom absolutely adored Dad. So much that she was blind to everything else around her. Dad skillfully deceived Mom like that and cheated on her with multiple women. Working in sales for an IT company, Dad was away on business trips for most of the year. He was hardly ever home. So whether he was cheating or doing whatever else, Mom probably never noticed. She believed in Dad, thinking that he loved her so everything was fine. I first noticed Dad's suspicious behavior when I was in 5th grade. He started fidgeting with his phone constantly, not putting it down even during meals. It was way too late for calls from clients, and more than anything, the look on his face when he got a message was creepy. He'd always check it while hiding it from Mom, replying with a lecherous grin. He never acted like that before, but lately he doesn't even try to hide it. Dad must have realized that Mom was infatuated with him. Out of curiosity, I peeked at Dad's phone and saw a list of secret meetings and date plans with women I didn't know. Seeing that, I despised Dad from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't forgive him for using Mom's feelings and playing with her. I felt hatred. Your mom is an idiot too. Do you really think a guy like Dad would be satisfied with such a plain woman? Rachel had noticed Dad's behavior. She knew why Dad married Mom and said something shocking to me. Dad married your mom because he wanted a convenient woman. Your mom is a good cook and housekeeper. For Dad, who has no money problems, he gets someone to look after the kids and can make time for himself too. That woman was used just for that. How ironic, Rachel said mockingly, and anger welled up inside me. Mom respected Dad, and she put effort into cooking because she wanted his approval. I supported Mom for working hard for the person she loved and wished for her happiness. This father and daughter so easily trampled on Mom's feelings and toyed with her. I couldn't forgive that. I told Mom about it, but she seemed to be completely brainwashed by Dad. She wouldn't listen to me at all. Instead, Mom yelled at me. She said it was terrible of me to talk about Dad like that. After that, I gave up trying to convince Mom. There was no one in this house who understood me. I felt like I had no place where I belonged. The turning point in my life came when I started high school. At the time, I heard my best friend was going to a high school far away. She said she wanted to work somewhere far in the future. The moment I heard that, I made up my mind too. I decided to leave home. I moved into a dorm and started working part-time to earn money for living expenses. That's where I met Cody at work. Cody had great communication skills and was quite popular at the office. He was good at his job, adored by both men and women, a true leader. He was a bit airhead too, which might have been part of his charm, as even the older coworkers doted on him. What brought Cody and I closer was a dinner party at work. We ended up sitting next to each other, and thanks to the chance to talk, we found out we liked the same bands. After that we hit it off and started hanging out privately as well. As we gradually grew closer, we started dating. We got married on my 25th birthday. We started living together and were enjoying happy days. Until that day when Rachel showed up at our house. Long time no see. I decided to live out here too, so I came to see how you're doing. Somehow Rachel had left our parents' home and moved here, just like I had. I couldn't hide my surprise at her unexpected actions.
Why are you here, Rachel? Weren't you working near Mom and Dad's place?
The salary doesn't go up much over there, and you know, I always dreamed of city life. So I decided to take the plunge and move. That's a lie. There's no way Rachel would move here for a reason like that. There must be some ulterior motive. I was suspicious, but in the end, time passed without me figuring out her objective.
Hello. I came over to hang out again today.
5 years had passed since Rachel moved here. She started practically living at our house. The reason was Cody. Around this time, Rachel began making advances toward Cody. Cody, who worked for a construction company, usually had weekends off. And every weekend, Rachel would show up at our place. She worked for a subcontractor of Cody's company, so she probably knew his days off. Using the excuse that she didn't have any friends here, she would invite herself over.
Rachel, good work today. You came again. Cody, I'm here again today.
Speaking in a cloying voice, Rachel cozies up next to Cody. She plops down beside him like it's the most natural thing, then looks over at me with a triumphant grin. Seeing that expression makes my anger well up, but what irritates me even more is Cody.
You can come over anytime. It gets lonely with just Megan and me here. I'm happy when you drop by, Rachel.
With a vulgar smirk on his face, Cody seems not entirely opposed to the idea. The way his gaze is directed not at Rachel's eyes, but her chest, even makes me feel disgust. Rachel must notice Cody's stares too, as she wraps her arm around his in a way that accentuates her body, happily pressing her breasts against him. How many times have I witnessed this scene by now? Even if I step in and say this isn't that kind of place, the two of them won't listen to a word I say.
Are you going through menopause or something? You get all worked up as soon as Rachel comes over. Quit it with that attitude. You're making Rachel feel bad. Cody, you're so kind. I might fall for you. But it's okay. I'm sure Megan is just jealous seeing you be so nice to me. Even though we don't have that kind of relationship. The two of them exchanged glances, agreeing with her words. I couldn't believe a single word that came out of Rachel's mouth. Because ever since we were young, Rachel always wanted to take everything that was mine. Just me getting a new toy was enough to make her throw a huge fit and cause trouble for our parents. In middle school, just seeing friends who had nothing to do with her being close to me made her so jealous, she'd try to tear them away from me. Just me having something she didn't was enough to make Rachel feel inferior and try to take it from me. It was a bad habit of hers. And now, that same sister was coming over to our house nearly every weekend. I couldn't help but feel anxious. And it was around that time when Cody started carrying his phone with him everywhere, not letting it out of his sight, even taking it into the bathroom. Just like Dad used to. Intuitively, I felt he was cheating. That premonition crossed my mind. But even if I wanted to look into the truth, I couldn't find the time. The reason was that I had to take care of my mother-in-law, Sarah. Cody had asked me to care for Sarah in between my work. Mom is on a wait list for a care facility, so until she gets a spot, I need you to look after her. Why? Did you forget all the things Sarah used to say to me? My relationship with Sarah wasn't that great. At the beginning of our marriage, we got along decently, but Sarah had quite a meddlesome personality and would frequently come over to our place. I guess she was lonely after my father-in-law passed away early. Thanks to that, Sarah and Rachel also got to interact a lot. The two of them would hit it off and get all excited together right in front of me, while I'd be busy making food to entertain the three of them, not even able to take time for myself. It became too much to bear, so I begged Cody to have Sarah visit less often. When Cody conveyed that to Sarah, our relationship soured from there. Sarah started berating me, saying she was just coming to check on me out of concern. Not even considering how I feel and treating me so coldly. The moment I heard Sarah's words, I thought there was no way I could build a good relationship with this person. So I started avoiding Sarah. After brushing me off so coldly like that, now you suddenly want me to take care of her? Do you really think I can happily look after Sarah? So what? You're just going to neglect Mom? I'm out working from morning till night, and I'm the breadwinner of this household. If you're going to selfishly disregard Mom like that, then wait until you earn as much as I do before complaining. Then I'll quit my job and take care of Mom myself. I couldn't argue back. Even with remote work, I only make $3,000 a month. Cody makes over $8,000. It would be hard to match his salary the way things are now. And it's true that I have more time flexibility than he does. Unable to find the words to refute him, I reluctantly agreed to take care of Sarah. And so began my days of juggling work and caregiving. This life was more hellish than I ever imagined. Around this time, Sarah needed physical assistance and had also developed mild dementia. Giving advance notice was important, and sudden changes were difficult for her to handle. She would throw tantrums and lash out. She remembered the past well, so every time she saw my face, she would yell at me, repeatedly screaming to call Rachel instead of me. Someone heartless like you shouldn't have been Cody's wife. It should have been a girl like Rachel. I can't believe you have the nerve to show your face here. Every time she said that, it left deep wounds on my heart. I lost count of how many times I felt hatred toward Sarah. But there were also times when she wasn't like that and would express gratitude.
She tearfully apologized for her wrongs and calmly explained why she had come over to our house so much. You see, Cody has always had a habit of putting on a nice face for people. He seemed happy after marrying you, but you two never had kids, right? I was worried he might be fooling around with other women, so I ended up coming to keep an eye on him. I was thrilled when you and Cody got married. I wanted to protect your happiness. Sarah told me. You have no idea how I feel. When I first understood the meaning behind those words, my tears flowed endlessly. She had been visiting our home to act as Cody's watchdog. Sarah had been coming over out of concern for me, not Cody. I hadn't noticed Sarah's compassion and had been neglecting her. I deeply regretted that, and from then on, even when Sarah said things about Rachel, I chose to endure it and live with the guilt. However, in the midst of those days of perseverance, tragedy suddenly struck. I'm pregnant with Rachel's child. I want a divorce. Somehow Cody had gotten Rachel pregnant. Their affair had indeed escalated. Honestly, rather than being shocked, I calmly thought this was just as I had expected.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I got Rachel pregnant. If I don't acknowledge it as the father and take responsibility by marrying her, it'll be sad for Rachel and the baby, don't you think?
Sad?
Hatred swelled at Cody's words. He was worried about Rachel and them, but didn't spare a thought for me. I was his wife, but I could see clearly that in his eyes that I was just an obstacle. It'd be lonely and sad for the kid to not have a dad since birth. Luckily you and I don't have any children, so divorcing shouldn't be a problem, right? You make enough income to live on your own. Our love had already gone cold anyway. Fed up with Cody talking and laughing like that, I pulled out the divorce papers from the living room drawer. Actually, early in our marriage, Cody and I had a huge fight over differences in values. At that time, the topic of divorce came up and Cody had prepared these divorce papers. Our signatures were already on there, and all that was left was to submit it. Although things had deteriorated to that point, once we cooled down, we talked it over and called off the divorce. I had kept these divorce papers in case something happened.
Here, the divorce papers. I'm done with the caregiving.
When I showed him the divorce papers, Cody flashed a defiant grin. He probably thought that with this, he could leave me and find happiness with Rachel. That he would finally be free from this hell. But the world isn't that easy. When I told Cody, elated, that I would abandon the caregiving, he made a perplexed face.
What? You need to keep taking care of her.
Cody must have panicked when I suddenly declared I was done with the caregiving. He stared at me in a fluster.
Why? We won't be married anymore, so I have no obligation to look after Sarah. You owe her for taking care of you, don't you? You're not going to repay that kindness?
Cody was just parroting the words without knowing what Sarah meant by kindness. It really got on my nerves.
You have no clue what feelings were behind Sarah's actions, so can you stop spouting nonsense? What did you say? In the first place, if you had just behaved properly, it wouldn't have come to this. Cheating and acting without discretion, do you realize how pathetic that is?
Cody must have gotten upset at being confronted with the hard truth. He suddenly raised his voice.
It's your body's fault for not being able to have kids, isn't it? You couldn't satisfy me as a woman, so the cause lies with you. A bottom-tier woman like you has no right to complain about being cheated on. It's your fault for not working harder on improving yourself.
No matter what I said or how I said it, Cody retorted with absurd arguments. Appalled by how terrible he was, I let out an exasperated sigh.
Since you're a woman who can't satisfy me, at least keep up the caregiving. Rachel and I both have jobs, and now we've got a kid on the way. We can't be bothered to take care of Mom. Rachel is your sister, right? Your sister is having a baby. Do you not feel compelled to help out a little? No way. Because Rachel is.
Cody was determined to make me continue the caregiving no matter what. To Cody, I revealed a shocking truth.
She's not my real sister or anything. She's a complete stranger. Why should I have to give up my precious time for someone like that? What?
It was the first time Cody had heard about my family situation. He was baffled by what I told him.
You see, my dad and Mom got remarried. Both of them already had kids. So Rachel and I are complete strangers. We're not related by blood, and just last month, my parents got divorced. Rachel's dad's cheating came to light and Mom moved out. It just so happened that Mom had asked me about living together, so your divorce came at the perfect timing. I had noticed you two were having an affair, so I thought of bringing up divorce myself.
On top of the shock that Rachel wasn't my sister, Cody probably never imagined that I knew about their relationship. The dumbfounded look on his face was so ridiculous, I almost burst out laughing.
By the way, Rachel's dad is a really difficult person. He can't rest easy unless the cleaning is thorough every single day, and he thinks people who don't respect their elders are scum. If we started eating before he took a bite, that would be enough to make him angry. Living at that house was so suffocating. I hated it so much that I left town when I was in high school. To get away from that family.
As Cody heard these unexpected circumstances, the color drained from his face. He had fallen perfectly into Rachel's trap, and in an instant, he became anxious about the future. His reaction was so comical, I let out a laugh.
Good for you, getting a divorce. I bet as soon as you divorced me, you were planning to move in with Rachel and live with her dad too, right? I'm sure such a blissful future awaits you now. How did you know that?
Even if he could imagine living with Rachel, how did I foresee her dad getting involved? The answer is simple. I had thoroughly investigated the two of them. I hired a private investigator with my savings and requested an investigation into them. Of course, I had them look into Rachel and Cody, and also Rachel's dad. And then I found out that Rachel and Cody had even made arrangements to live with her dad. Not knowing what kind of person Rachel's dad was, Cody agreed to living together so Rachel wouldn't dislike him. The reason Rachel had been coming on to Cody was because she wasn't confident about living with her dad alone. She knew that her dad was an incredibly difficult person.
I wonder why. Why don't you try to figure it out yourself?
Oh, that's impossible. If you had the brains to think it through, you wouldn't have so easily agreed to this cohabitation proposal.
You little...
Provoked, Cody's anger must have swelled. As Cody looked ready to raise his fist at any moment, I pulled out my phone and immediately pointed the camera at him.
Go ahead and hit me if you want. I'll just take that evidence straight to the police. If that happens, forget remarrying Rachel. What do you think her dad will say? I feel bad for your unborn kid. If they find out their dad is a criminal, they might get bullied at school. Damn it.
Cody doesn't have the guts. As soon as he heard the word police, he lowered his fist, glaring at me while biting his lip in frustration. Let me tell you one more thing, poor Cody. Rachel's dad, you see, his cheating came to light and Mom hit him with a divorce. In other words, that man is being sued for a huge sum in the divorce settlement. And on top of that, you'll also be sued for alimony in our divorce, so you'll be living in poverty. In the midst of that, you'll have a baby? No matter how much above average income you make, this will be tough. It's the worst. As I mockingly told him what was likely to happen, Cody's face turned deathly pale. As if to say no way, he clutched his head, starting to regret his naivete. By the way, I'll be having Rachel pay compensation for this matter, too.
What?
As I delivered those words that dealt an additional blow, his eyes widened in surprise. Of course I will. You didn't think you would be the only one, did you? An unmarried person stole the husband from a married woman. Even if we used to be a family, there's no way I'd show mercy here. I really can't fathom how he thought as long as he was the only one to sacrifice himself, everything else would be fine. Rachel has put me through hell up until now, so I have to properly collect what's due. From now on, you'll have to take care not only of Sarah, but Rachel's dad and Rachel herself. In fact, you'll be saddled with repaying alimony for 3 people every single day. What a living nightmare. I'd absolutely hate being in that kind of hell. You would have been much smarter to apologize to Rachel, give up, and walk through life with me. Hearing those words, Cody probably thought if he apologized, I would help him. He rushed to my feet and began apologizing while crying.
Can't you do something? I never thought it would turn out like this.
Cody regretted his naivete and was desperately trying to somehow retract the divorce. But that won't work on me. I lost any affection for Cody ages ago.
Can you give up? I can't even stand to look at your face anymore. I'm filled with happiness finally being able to leave you. Thanks to your indiscretions, it looks like I can tack on extra compensation in the divorce settlement. I'm truly grateful. I'm a free woman. Right now, I'm overflowing with a sense of liberation.
As I rejoiced in this happiness with my arms spread wide, Cody, not knowing when to quit, grabbed the hem of my pants.
Please,
he begged.
Don't say that and reconsider. At this rate, my life going forward will be a living hell. Not my problem.
I dismissed Cody's pleas with cold words. When I was going through hard times, he only prioritized himself and never once considered my feelings. The resentment and hurt from that time will never disappear. I absolutely won't let it be like it never happened. Those feelings must have shown in my eyes. When Cody looked me in the eye, he flinched and pulled away from my feet, retreating.
Whatever you do or whatever happens to you has nothing to do with me. It's your own responsibility, right? Don't come to me for help with that. Just talking to you like this is unpleasant for me. I don't want to see your face, and I hate even breathing the same air as you. Got it? If I could, I'd erase my memories and get rid of all traces of you. That's how angry I am. If you understand, won't you hurry up and get out? This house is still in my name.
With that, I gathered up Cody's things and threw them towards the front door. This house we're living in now, I got it for cheap by begging my cousin, a real estate agent, right after I got a job. Cody was looking for a place to live, too, so he had no objection to me getting this house. He moved into my place and we started living together. And from there, it turned into marriage.
After apologizing this much, what's with that attitude? It's your fault for not valuing me that things turned out this way, isn't it?
He must have gotten irritated after having his belongings thrown out. Despite being filmed by the phone camera, he raised his fist at me. At that moment, the lock on our front door clicked open, and the private investigator and Mom came to my rescue from outside.
That's enough, Cody. Get away from Megan. Huh? And who's that guy?
The investigator immediately restrained Cody. There was no way the slimmer-than-average Cody could win against the well-built investigator. Even as he tried to struggle, he was pinned down so firmly he couldn't move. As if to protect me from Cody, Mom embraced me and glared at him with sharp eyes. I'm a private investigator hired by Megan. I had hidden cameras set up to properly record the footage of this scene. Of course, we'll be using that as evidence. Hearing about the cameras, Cody regained his composure, a look of despair on his face. I was worried my phone alone wouldn't be enough, so I had them set up in advance. Thanks to that, we had evidence of the assault and witnesses too. Cody's life was completely over, and he realized that, at a loss for words. Your actions just now constitute assault. If you don't want to make the damage any worse, quietly take your things and leave. You have no chance of winning. Hearing the investigator's words, Cody gave up his futile resistance. Megan, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. This was all a mistake. I want to be with you after all. So please, give me one last chance. Give it a rest. He may have stopped resisting, but his desire to be forgiven probably hadn't disappeared. With tears in his eyes, Cody turned back to me, begging for another chance. But to him, I delivered the final blow. I don't want to do anything with you going forward, and as you can see, the divorce papers are already signed. You're the one who brought up wanting a divorce, so don't start saying all sorts of things now. You're the one who chose to abandon me and indulge in pleasure, right? It's too late to regret it now. I have no lingering feelings or affection for you. I don't feel anything anymore. If you get it, hurry up and leave. I'll have my lawyer contact you later about the rest. This was the first time I had ever stated my opinion to Cody so clearly. Perhaps finally giving up after hearing my unusually cold tone, Cody accepted it, gathered his things, and left. And so, I was freed from my long-standing curse and became a liberated woman. Right after that, I hired a lawyer the investigator introduced me to, and submitted the divorce papers. With the decisive evidence and Cody's domineering attitude during discussions, I was able to get nearly $80,000 in the divorce settlement. You've got to be kidding! Why should I have to pay this much? We were practically family. What are you thinking? Trying to extort money from your sister? Later, when I went to talk to Rachel about the settlement, she predictably flew into a rage. Rachel's dad was there with her, and the two of them ganged up on me in condemnation. However, I had my lawyer there with me too, and the lawyer backed the two of them into a corner. You're not even blood-related sisters, yet you wave around those arguments while stealing Megan's precious husband. It's only natural that your crime is heavy, and being family doesn't give you a free pass. You've destroyed a household. Rachel couldn't refute the lawyer's sound reasoning. To Rachel, I spat out my pent-up resentment. What you've done to me until now is even more unforgivable than Cody. I'll thoroughly corner you and wring out every last thing I can. Just like you've always done to me. Brace yourself. Don't think you'll get off with just money. The moment I said that with a cold gaze and tone, not getting emotional, Rachel trembled as if frightened. I asked the lawyer to back her into a corner. Perhaps thanks to the lawyer's efforts, Rachel was slapped with a $50,000 lawsuit. And so, Rachel and her family were saddled with nearly $200,000 in household debt. The amount Mom was seeking from Dad also easily exceeded $50,000, so they were truly experiencing debt hell. Just when I thought it would end with that, an even more shocking truth came to light afterward. It turned out the child Rachel was pregnant with wasn't Cody's after all. In fact, while Rachel was cheating with Cody, she had apparently been seeing another man at the same time. The baby in Rachel's belly was that man's child, and Cody was uninvolved. What's more, that other man was Cody's subordinate at work. The subordinate found out Rachel was cheating and refused to acknowledge the child. He had intended to make her suffer with that, but then he heard about her remarrying Cody and exposed Rachel's misdeeds within the company. The two of them were fired from the company, scorned by acquaintances, and divorced a mere month after remarrying. Rachel was also slapped with an alimony lawsuit from Cody. They're both apparently doing day labor jobs while steadily paying off their debts. Since then, I've been living together with Mom. The moment I left Dad, I swore in my heart that I would protect Megan. It was actually Mom who had helped arrange to hire the private investigator. It was because I had Mom's support that I found the resolve to divorce Cody and could stand up to him instead of running away. From now on, no matter what happens, I'm on your side. True to her word, Mom has always been there for me. After the divorce, I started an online business utilizing my PC skills. What I was doing under the guise of remote work was creating a community for kids who couldn't go to school anymore and setting up an environment like a free school on the internet. I made a curriculum to support the studies of truant students and teach them the PC knowledge they'll need going forward. I myself went through a lot of painful experiences with no one to talk to. I don't want those children to go through that. Those words I said in a magazine interview caught the attention of many people, and now interview requests from media are flooding in. Thanks to that, the business has been a huge success. Many families whose kids attend have expressed their gratitude to me. Taking their words as encouragement, I intend to keep creating a place that can help others.